Welcome to Wealthy Mind, where we talk about all things finances, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the surprising. Welcome to Wealthy Mind. I am your host, Misty Rose Gold, International Success Coach, and we are making sure that you create and maintain a wealthy mind. So today I have back with me Bill Aubin. Hello, Bill.
Hello, Misty.
Oh gosh, it's good to have you back, and I'm excited for our conversation today. It's story time, folks.
Great welcome. I love it. Great to be back.
All right, so before we dive into stories, please tell the audience, what is your business? What do you do?
My business is Optive Commercial Capital, and we provide funding to help people start or grow a business and also to do investment properties. Big range, and we'll kind of narrow it down as we go through it a little bit.
Wonderful. So today is story day, which means Bill has a bunch of stories that he wants to share with us so that we can see maybe ourselves in one of the scenarios. So which one do you want to start with?
And I love that. Let's just kind of preface it, and I love that you came up with this topic, Misty, because I believe it does. It really helps explain a little bit what we do. The typical question I get, is what you do, but there's bridge loans, there's commercial loans, and there's business loans and there's commercial loans. Whereas business is more to start a business, to grow a business, more your traditional loans, working capital, acquisitions, things like that. And then commercial loans is more the real estate side, and that can cover everything from a typical, I need a space to operate my business, or it can be an investment property, everything from a fix and flip to a B&B, or just you want to be a landlord or you want to occupy some of the space and rent out the rest of it. So that's really the big range of the difference in bridge and commercial. And it's so much easier to explain or give a story or an example. So that's kind of what I wanted to do today, to maybe touch on a couple of each type loan. And then again, what we do is we specialize in the strengths and challenges of each borrower, explain what the loan process is going to be, and then put them in the right loan for their business, because everything's a little bit different. Everyone's got their own priorities, their own things that they need to overcome. And really that's the focus. So I just wanted to go through a couple different ones today and really just present it from an overview and what the challenges were and what the outcome was.
Okay, so the first one, is it a business loan?
The first one that I did, and I start with this one always because it's the one I was most proud of. This kind of got me from post-COVID business loans to a real estate project. And it was pretty large. It was Stapleton Airport, the control tower. And the fun, I guess that's not really the right word, but it was just exciting to do a property that I knew, to be able to climb the control tower and meet the people that were out there. So it's just one of those that always stands out in my mind because it was a little different than what I'd traditionally done. But on this one, I was approached by a commercial realtor, and the deal was about to fall through because they couldn't get funding. And we had great, very experienced borrowers. They had several other properties. One was for sale that hadn't sold yet, so they didn't have the money to come up with, to get this loan. So they needed a pretty fast closing because they had wasted all this time with the previous lenders that weren't able to get it done. So they tried to go through their regular lender, who couldn't do it because there was a potential to do a small cannabis facility, cannabis retail on part of the property. They wanted to have that possibility. So that narrowed down the lender pool quite a bit. Went with a credit union. That credit union couldn't get it done. It was going to take them over 60 days. Since they've already lost this time, that wasn't going to work either. So they came to me and asked me how I could get it done. Well, I had a great bridge lender, specializes in these larger dollar, it was $8 million $8 million was the cost of the property. So they needed to find somebody that could close very quickly, that could meet all the other requirements that they already had. And so I got them involved and they were able to close in less than 30 days. So we were able to save them some money on the back end, provided all kinds of information with the borrower, with the tenant that was going to move into the property. But it was really just aligning it by finding out what was exactly the most important to them. And of course, it was speed to close was much more important than the down payment or the rate. They didn't want to lose their earnest money. They just had to close by this amount of time, or the seller was not going to give them any kind of extension because they've already used up all their time. So it was a great transaction. Everybody was happy. But again, it was the key to that one. Really, there were no challenges to overcome. It was a good borrower. It was a good, the lender understood everything. It was just finding someone that could get it done quick enough, and they didn't even end up using it for any type of a cannabis type thing. They just wanted to have that option out there. So it's really asking the right questions and finding out what's most important to get it done. So it was a exciting experience to be able to get it done and save them some money on the back end. Then we
Sure.
had,
Well,
yes,
hold on.
sorry.
Before we
Yeah, I
go
just start
into,
jumping into other ones.
yeah,
I'm like, all right, let me
hold
throw up
on.
everything I got at you, Misty. Here you go. I forget whose program this is. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's good. I'm glad that you're excited to talk because sometimes people aren't. But I want to talk about this story and this experience that you had. Number one, it sounds like it very much fulfilled you as you went through this process, and this was a commercial loan, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And to be able to get them to meet their deadline and like that was life changing, not just for you, but from my perspective, it was life changing for them.
Absolutely. In the so many good things about it was they only needed a quick bridge loan just till they could sell their other property. So it wasn't a 25-year loan. It was just we have to
Mhm.
get in here. We can't afford to lose it. The tenants were already expecting to move in. There, so there was a lot of moving parts. It wasn't just life changing for the buyer seller. There was
Mhm.
other people that were involved in this. So yeah, it was a big experience.
Okay, so this is a huge success, but I would like you to, from your perspective, tell the audience, what impact would it have had if this company did not get the loan that they were seeking? What would have been the long-term effect for the
Mhm.
business and everyone connected to them?
Great question. So initially, you have there was a partnership of three different borrowers that were all, it was their partnership, their LLC that was buying it. So each one of those would have been impacted, of course, because they would have lost their earnest money, everything that they had already put down on the building. Then the tenant, who was, I don't want to name who they are. I really wish I could because it helps the story. And well, I guess you could find out they're in there now, so I can say it. But it's Flight um, Brewery, and their whole motif, I guess, for lack of a better word, their theme is airport aeronautics flight, FLYTE. It's all aviation based. So it was so good for them to be able to move into Stapleton Airport. It was just such a good, perfect thing
Mm.
versus the property that they were currently in. Yes, they could have stayed there and it would have worked, but it was just such a good atmosphere. It was good for the community. It was good for all of the people that live in that area, the Stapleton area, to be able to have that in there. So, of course, there's the financial, which is always the biggest, but then the fact of getting into where they're at now and to be able to grow and to be able to do the things that they're doing had a great impact on their business. So, you've got the owners, and then you've got the tenants, and it's absolutely a big deal because you put a lot of time into it. They're already planning on what the next step in their business, their progression is going to be with this new facility. Had it not gone through, of course, you're back to starting with we got to find somewhere else. Well, there's only one property in all of the area that fit all of that to be able to bring in more food and the entertainment and the family type things. They have an outside area. They have bowling alley inside. I never knew. I'd never been in the building, but it was
I've
incredible.
actually been there.
Oh, okay. So you know exactly. And it used to be something prior to that, but it's just so perfect for what it is now. So
Yeah, it's a great entertainment space. I've
yeah.
been to some business events there. So,
Okay. Yeah. So,
I mean, based on my geographical location, it's not convenient, nor is
Mhm.
yours, but
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It was a little bit of a trek.
yeah, yeah. No, I've been there. It's great. So I wanted the audience to be able to see like what was the crucial factor, right? On the scale of 1 to 10, was it dire? Like, if this loan didn't go through, would it destroy their business? Because sometimes people get in that situation where if we don't get the funding we need right now, things could really crumble. So I'm glad to
Mhm.
hear that that wasn't the scenario with this business. Really glad to hear that. So,
And that is, and sometimes I even lose focus on that. I kind of look at who's my client, who am I doing this for, who's the person that we're trying. And obviously, in this case, it was the buyer, the borrower. But yes, there's the seller. The seller was definitely impacted by this. They wanted to
mm,
sell their property. Um, had it not gone through, it would have been impactful for them. And then, of course, the borrowers and their time, and then the tenants, and then the outer, the other, the general public per se, the clients of
mhm,
the new
mhm,
business. So there are several people, and you're right. I do. I sometimes get a little bit too wrapped up into this is my client, this is who I'm working for, this is who I want to get this loan for. But again, what's the greater good without
mhm,
being too cliche? There's
mhm,
so many other people are affected by that. And you can really you can dig a little bit deeper
mhm.
and see how much it's helped out so many people.
Yeah, definitely. So now I'm thinking about different scenarios for the seller. If maybe they had financial hardships and the
Mhm.
sale of their business or the sale of their property fixed it.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Maybe they were in like a really tight situation. Maybe not, but I'm just thinking of different scenarios. The seller and what did it potentially mean to them, right? So the seller knows for sure. They know what
Right.
that means to them. But these are the things that I think about. I think about the impact on everyone involved and what could have been if it didn't turn the right
Mhm.
direction. So,
Absolutely. No, there's so much to it. And it's not just the financial part. Of course, but again, yeah, the seller would have been impacted. I mean, you have a
mm,
property up, someone signs a letter of intent, you think it's going to get sold. You've got realtors involved, you got inspectors, you've got title, you've got all the people that are involved in the transaction that have put time into it. And then to have it fall through at the end because of funding, which happens, but you have very good borrowers. There's no, sometimes people have a lot more challenges, cash flow, collateral, credit, whatever their personal situations. But these are great borrowers. It was just finding a right lender that could match up to all the requirements of the deal, so to speak, Misty. So you had good tenants that were coming in. The rent was going to be paid for. Obviously, it was covered with the tenants. You had a
mm,
good property, it appraised good. There was no issues, nothing we had to overcome on that sense. It was just who can check all the boxes, so to speak, for all the requirements of the property and get it closed in time. And then, of course, the rates have to be reasonable. The down
mhm.
payment, the monthly rate, everything has to make sense. But again, there's a lot of moving parts, and you start getting into some of the bigger commercial properties, it's hard to close in less than 30 days. And it was quite a bit less than that even. Um, so it was great. It was fortunate that all everybody's time and money wasn't wasted to get it done. So
Isn't it wonderful to know that you could have such a positive impact on so many people and so many lives? The,
absolutely.
like the ripple
Absolutely.
effect, you never know the full
Mhm.
impact of the ripple effect. So good on you for being able to jump through hoops and pull strings and do whatever you needed to do to get that done.
That's
So,
it. And I appreciate you bringing that up too. I need to certainly make more of an effort to think about all the other things that go into it because I think in our day to day, and I'm speaking for me, not collectively, but we think about what we do and how it impacts myself. The immediate the people that are involved in the transaction instead of
mhm,
sometimes bigger picture. And as we want to be involved in our community, our neighborhood, the future business people that are involved, the customers, everybody that's in the families are affected by it. So um, good on you. I'm going to make an effort to think more about that moving forward. So well done.
thank you. And I think it's wonderful that we can all make an impact, and most people don't realize the impact until they stop to think about the effect it has on everyone else. And it's like, wow, I have a greater impact than I realized.
Yes, very
And
much
that's
so.
very important. So with my business, I'll usually sit down and have a coffee with any person because it may not be a good fit for me. But like this morning, I sat down with an attorney. Do I see us falling in love with each other and being the best business partners and referral partners ever. No, but I saw it for one of my clients. And I was like, hey, wait, it makes sense for me to connect you with this client because you guys could be potentially great referral partners with each other. And the attorney's like, yes, please. Thank you. And then I got on the phone with my client right after. I was like, hey, here's the conversation. Here's what he's doing. I think you guys will be a great fit for each other. And it was perfect. It was a beautiful connection. So instead of looking at it through the lens of just me and what's effective for my business, like I look at it of how can I bring value to my clients? How can I, maybe this person is the right connection for someone else, but not for me. And that's okay.
I love that. And of course, I gotta toot your horn a little bit because you're the best person to have coffee with and instantly think about other connections. And I feel bad. It's like, oh my gosh, you've shared so many people with me, and I really appreciate that. It means the world. Just that you're instantly thinking of other people. You know, if it's not a connection for you, well, that's fine. But who else can be connected and who else can benefit from our interaction, and that goes a long way. And I love that you think that way, and it's apparent, obviously,
Mhm.
just listening to you talk, and just the way you introduce people, it's very powerful, and I love that. So thank you for doing
Thank
what
you.
you do, and I'm up for another cup
Wish.
of coffee anytime. We'll have to do that again soon because I so
Yes.
enjoyed our last one. So
Yeah. Yeah. No. And I had another situation today for you that was this lady was not a good connection for me personally, but she was a great connection for you. I was like, sweet, score. It's still a very successful day. So,
love that. That's excellent.
yeah.
So,
Well, and I want people to know that I give to give. I don't expect anything in return. So, yes, it's wonderful if people bring it back to me. That's awesome. But I give because I enjoy it. I give because, hey, if these connections make sense, it's the right thing to do.
yep, true
So
giving.
I
Yeah.
give from the true giver's heart and
Mhm.
release it. I just
Yep.
give and release. It's not a method of trying to get something.
Yep. That
Um,
makes it that much more appreciated.
yeah. And it makes it easier for other people too, right? Because
Yes.
a lot of people are very transactional and they get stuck in that trap of, oh, if Misty's giving me all this, then I have to give back to her. No, I want you to give back to me if you want to.
Hmm.
But don't feel like you have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very important distinction because I'll pick up on transactional people and I'm like, no.
Yep. There's
No
more to it than
thanks.
that. Absolutely. We all know enough of that. So,
No thanks. So, anywho, okay,
yep.
awesome. Well, I am super glad that you are in the business community and that you are a part of my network because I know that you are so passionate about helping business owners and commercial people to accomplish what they want to accomplish. Like,
Excellent.
your passion is very obvious, and I really support that and appreciate it. So, thank you. Now,
Thank-
let's do another story.
Okay.
What
Wonderful. Thank you.
What's the next story that you have for us?
The next one, and this is a little bit of a segue off what you were just talking about, and the actual loan itself was exciting and there was some good stuff to it, but I liked the way this one happened because of the people that were involved, and it was one of those connector type things you might appreciate a little bit. So through a networking group, I had someone that was helping a person buy a home. She bought the home, so I knew the realtor, I knew the mortgage lender. Both of them knew each other. We were in the same group, and then this person, the borrower, she was a hairdresser and she had an opportunity to buy the building, or I'm sorry, it was in a commercial condo, so it was one unit in a bigger commercial property. So they connected her with me. Oh, and there's a commercial insurance, but it was just great. There was like we all knew each other, we had all worked each other, so several people got to help this one person, and it was like one stop shop for her because we all were connected. We all had everybody's contact info, and so they introduced me to her, and she was able to buy this property. And but the good thing about it was just a perfect timing because she had to be careful because she had just bought her house. She had all these other things, all these moving parts. So we had to find a borrower that was okay with the debt that she had just incurred to what her income was and make sure that everything was structured right. Fortunately, we all knew each other. So the story was kind of shared by everybody. We didn't have to explain it too much. But the fun thing about it was, um, she'd been doing the business for a long time, but she was able to buy a property for, I'm going to say 600,000, and I don't even recall exactly what it was, Misty. But the fun thing about it was guiding her through the whole process and explaining it to her. And it was an SBA loan with an SBA lender that you've actually had them on your program. But we were able to explain it all to her and make her be comfortable with it because there was a lot to it. And she's like, oh, am I getting overextended? Is there too much going on? And really just making her be comfortable, letting her see she was going to be in a better position because essentially when you're renting a property, you're paying 100%. That's what your mortgage rate is. It's
Mm,
100%. You're paying the monthly rent and it's gone versus this
mhm,
way you have an asset and you have a long-term thing that you're acquiring that you can borrow against. But she was able to come to closing and actually walk away with money in her pocket. This loan that she was able to get was essentially 0% down. There was a little bit of
mhm.
closing cost. She had a little bit of cash back because she was going to do some tenant improvements, but she was so excited. She was getting ready to go on vacation, I believe, right after closing. But to be able to see her get a check when she walked away was pretty exciting. She had her husband and kids were even at the closing because they were on their way to it. It was just a fun experience. But the fun thing was just seeing someone be so surprised that she was able to get the building. Her rent, I'm sorry, her monthly payment for the loan was almost exactly what her current rent payment was. So there was not a huge cash flow differential that she had to
Mm.
overcome. It was the down payment going to work? Well, we got her into essentially 0% down with cash back. So it was just a very rewarding experience. The impact on the business really, as we just discussed on the last one, is really just the fact that she's buying an asset. She's buying something instead of just renting, which is so good long term for her
Mhm.
family, things like that. Whether you want to sell the property, sell the business with that, or do whatever else you want. She just had a lot more options farther down the road. And it was one of those that it took a lot of time. We had a lot of extensions. We had a lot of things going on with the realtors, the sellers, the everything, a lot of moving parts to get it where it needed to be. But that was just one of those experiences where I enjoyed doing it, probably more so. I think I had a little more connection to the borrower. It certainly wasn't transactional by any means. We talked an awful lot and got to know each other. And through the process, I always tell people by the time this loan's over, you probably won't like me because you're going to be so tired of hearing from me. And there's, oh no, I'm going to be so excited. I'll be so, no, you're tired of hearing from me. There's a lot involved in this. So, but
And that's okay.
yeah, we
That's
still
okay.
talk. So yes, but
Yeah.
that was kind of a rewarding experience. So,
Now I like this story because it highlights something different.
yeah, and that's a completely different type of transaction.
Definitely. So the part that it highlights for me is her mindset and her thoughts around this whole process. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of coaching that you did, so to speak, to help her understand how this was beneficial for her. And the end result was that you empowered her.
Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of it is just explaining because you don't want to get someone into a loan they don't need, or a bad loan, or not explain it to them enough, because it's not what they do every day. She does her business. Everybody has their own business, their own area of expertise, so to speak, but it's not what she did every day. So I try to avoid the acronyms and talking because we have them, we all have them, and don't
Mm,
even realize how much you're throwing them out there. But to really make it simple, and I try to give people a little bit of a breakdown before we even start the process. Here's the different types of loans. Here's conventional, here's SBA, working cap, all the different things, and kind of give them a quick overview and then ask. The rest is all asking questions. What's most important? What's the priority? What's the pain point? Why are you trying to accomplish this? And then it makes it a lot easier to put them in the right loan with the right lender, answer the right questions. And well, probably before that, ask the right questions, then answer the right way to get them the information that they need. So,
mm. Okay. So this leads me to a topic that we need to discuss.
okay.
A lot of people the general public and new business owners have mental blocks around loans. So I definitely see you in that space of breaking down those mental blocks for people. You did it for this lady. She definitely had some mental blocks around the loan process. So, how, in all of your experience, how can you assist our audience today with their mental blocks around loans if they're a business owner and looking at expanding and growing and they need a loan to do that? Help them get out of their own way, please.
Great question. Um, on that, the way that I typically explain a loan when we start talking about it, and of course, there's different loans. So again, this is going to be overly general, different than it would be for an investment, fix and flip, maybe just a general business loan, or commercial loan. I think you need to look at it much like you would look at any other loan, be it a car loan, home loan, things like that, with what is the end result? What are you trying to accomplish with this loan? Misty, you came to me and said, or if you did, and said, I want to, whatever the scenario could be, start a business, grow a business, open another location. It's all going to come back to what is going to be the ROI? What is the return? What is the gain? And anyone's going to ask you the same question. Any lender, they're going to look at it the same way. What is this loan going to be able to allow your business to do? And it can be working capital to hire a new person. It can be whatever your business is to buy a new piece of equipment. Maybe it can make you faster, more efficient, expand your clientele. If you're a towing company and you buy one more tow truck, um, an advertising campaign, marketing campaign, computer, whatever it is, whatever the loan is for, how is it going to help your business or you personally if it's an investment property? And then to go back now and to look at it, what is called coverage, debt service coverage ratio. Is the amount that you're going to make moving forward going to be enough to pay the loan and to give you enough on top of that to make it worthwhile? And there can be any type, every lender's got their own different ratio. Let's just use an arbitrary 1.1. So you need to be able to pay for the loan and you need to be generating a little bit more revenue on top of it. I jokingly tell people, we don't want to get you this loan and then you have to change your lifestyle and you're eating ramen noodles till the end of time. Nothing against ramen noodles. I went to college too. But at some point in time, you want to be able to have enough of a benefit where you're not scraping by, so to speak. You're doing whatever you need to do to grow your business. And I've had people say, oh my gosh, that rate is outrageous. I thought I was going to be paying closer to what I paid for my home. And it's not. Business
Mm,
loans, commercial loans, they're more. They're just not the same rate as what you paid for your home.
hmm.
Um,
So
and you have to
there's,
justify that and to be able to know, well, yes, but if you're able to 20% increase your business, 30,
hmm.
50, 100%, what is this loan going to do for you? And if the ROI, again, back to that, oh, I just told you I wasn't going to use acronyms. If the return on investment is not going to be there, then it's not going to make sense for you. You have to be able to justify what this loan is going to do so you can increase your business. Then it's going to make sense. Then the fact that
hmm.
you might be paying, depending on the type of loan, 5%, 7, 15, 20, 25%. I don't know what type of loan are you getting.
Mm,
As long as the return is worth it, then it makes sense. And we've had this discussion. When is it time to grow your business? When is it time to open another facility? When
hmm.
is it time to absorb that extra debt, to take on that expense? Well, only if the revenue is gonna offset. Um,
Yeah.
and that's probably one of the most important things to be able to know. If not, it doesn't make sense. If you're going to be struggling, if it's going to be so close, if you're not going to get the return out of it, then no. And I think you probably deal with that on a day-to-day basis. How do you answer those questions for people? Is to find what is the answer? What are you trying to accomplish? Where are you trying to get to? What looks like good to you? What looks like success? What looks like the end goal? And then realize, is this loan going to help you get there or not? Is it going to, if it's going to cause you too much stress, if there's too much pain, if you're not going to sleep well at night because you're worried about covering the debt, well, then maybe it's
Hmm.
not the right time. You want to have a little bit of a comfort. Comfort might be not the exact right word. I don't know what the right word is right there, but you have to have some kind of level of acceptance to know
That's the word.
you're,
Acceptance is the
thank
right
you. Yeah,
word.
you're taking a leap of faith, and it's hard. I can't answer that. You can't answer that. We can put those questions out there to kind of work
Right.
through that with somebody and to be able to say, hey, look, if you buy this property, I had someone the other day, they're looking for a $2.1 million property because it's beautiful and it does everything they want and it's in a perfect location. So I came back with them, okay, if you do this, this is the down payment roughly. This is the monthly payment roughly. Is this what you want? And he's like, oh no, I need to call my realtor. I need $1 million building, not a $2 million building. But of course, it was a beautiful building and it did everything they want. And I'm not saying they won't still end up with it. They very well may. They just might need to get a few renters in there to occupy part of the space because it was way more than what they need. And it can be a like business. If you're in a, say you're a, I don't know, a home stager or a decorator, something in the real estate world, you can get like type people, but they had to start thinking about things that they didn't
Right.
initially think about.
Right.
But until we told them you're going to need 15, 20, 30% down and your payments are going to be this much, they had no idea. They were just window shopping, so to speak, without looking at whether or not they could afford to pay for it. Now, if their business grew double what they thought it was going to be, or even 3x because of this new facility, then yes, maybe it is possible. But you don't want to put them in
Hmm.
that pain threshold thing that they had to overcome because all they saw was the number. They saw the cost, not the
Right.
benefit. Again, I'm not saying they can't do it, but that's part of what we do is to analogize, good word, do an analysis of what the property looks like. Sorry, you know how I get, Misty. I get enthusiastic and just start throwing words. I make up words as I go.
No, it's good.
And
So let's,
analogize. I'm going to do that one. So
right, right. Let's revisit something. So there's a classic business scenario where you kind of touched on it briefly, but I want to highlight it real quick and we'll close with this. For the business owner that is doing their first hire that they have to get a loan for, that can be a very scary process. So their stress threshold is different for each person. And we have to evaluate that. Like, can you handle the stress of hiring this person, but having to get a loan to do so? And is that person skilled enough to actually make the business more money? And ROI is a term that I throw out all the time. So if my listeners don't understand it, they're not the right listeners.
I figured I
Like,
didn't want to say that. I'm assuming we have a
yeah,
very educated grant. This is your program, but I just thought
yeah,
that was opportune time to bring that up. But yes, I agree.
yeah. No, thank you for that. And maybe there's somebody listening that doesn't understand what that means, but please go look it up because in the business community, most of us understand what ROI means. So, anyhow, back to the business owner. They're young-ish, maybe in business. Maybe they've been around a long time flying solo, lucky to hire some maybe 1099s, but now they need to shift into, I actually need to pay somebody a salary. How
That
can you help people digest that and lower their stress levels?
mhm. That is an absolute great question. And I had a very similar um, story that I can put with that one too. This was a growing insurance company, fairly new, but they had some good revenue. They were doing things right, and they were exactly at the wall of max capacity. They were literally not taking new calls, new clients, unless it was an existing client that was just growing. And that's not a place that you want to be unless you're just happy with never growing and everything is working good. But they were
Right.
right at that point. They could not afford to take on a new producer for their insurance agency because it was going to take so long for that person to really be able to generate what their cost was, so to speak. So they knew in 3 to 6 months that person would be fine, but they wanted to give them a little bit startup. They wanted to know they had to take time to train them. They had to do these things, hire them.
Hmm.
So what we did for them was really look at how much more is this person going to be able to produce if they come in absolutely justify
Hmm.
from month one. And they kind of did a table, and that's not the right word, Misty. I apologize, but basically the way they put it out there was here's where we are right now with this new person. Here's what it's going to look like. week 1, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, moving forward. And they did it on a 6 month to getting this person fully ramped up to where they should be fully producing. Um, the stages of training, where they are, how much direction they need, training, coaching, all that, until they're hands off peak performer. They're doing everything on their own. So they
Mm.
basically put this on a 6 month line, and they broke it down into their number that they came out with was they're going to need $50,000, and it was going to be a loan initially, and we ended up doing it basically like a line of credit for them, and it
Mm.
worked out better. So they had access to it, because I'm like, you don't need a $50,000 loan, because you don't need all 50,000 right now for anything.
Right,
You just
right.
want to have access to it as we move forward, weekly, monthly. You're going to meet
Mm.
their payroll. You're going to be sending them to training. You're going to be taking some time away, and exactly what you alluded to. If you're going to need a 1099, a part-time person to kind of bridge, because they did have access to some part-time people they could call in, contract
Mm.
based as time needed. Fortunately, it was a good situation that they had. They had kind of a part-time on-call person, but so they were able to get the $50,000, and based on their, collateral and time in business experience, their growth trajectory. But they really had to understand, oh, this is absolutely perfect. After 6 months is going by, they're only going to tap into a certain amount of this, but they're going to have the insurance for the insurance company, of knowing that they had that cash accessible if they needed it. And it turned out they used a very small portion of that. They realized how big the business was going to grow, and it turned out to be an absolutely great thing. And now they've hired some other people since then. But
Mm.
really, they had to absolutely break it down and understand what is the true cost. And they came up with 50,000 over 6 months. So it worked out fine. They got to hire the new person who excelled tremendously. They didn't need all of the 50,000 that they had access to, but it was basically their sleep good at night under the pillow money,
Yeah,
kind of thing,
it's
just
their
to.
peace of mind.
Yes, exactly. And it gave them that comfort. And again, I'm not saying a $50,000 loan wouldn't have been a bad thing, but there is a better way to do it, to talk them through and give them that comfort level, and essentially to make the decision to know if they hired the right person. And again,
Right.
the importance of that, everybody does. Is this a good hire? Is this person going to stick with you and do what you need to do and move your business forward? Be a good spokesperson, and let the lead owner of the business get out and do more of what they do. They were the
Hmm.
networker. They sold the businesses. They got the people involved. They were able to help other people, and they could get out of the office, so to speak, instead of being there answering the phone, telling people they're not expecting or accepting new clients. So
Right.
there's so many moving parts to that, but it was a challenge for them. They literally were not sure if they wanted to take the plunge, because it was their baby. They were handing it over to someone else. They wanted to be.
Mm.
They certainly didn't have problems. It wasn't a micromanager, so to speak, that wasn't able to do that. But they had to really understand: is this worth the cost and the time and the expense, and what's it going to do to our business? Again, start from the answer, work backwards. Where are you trying to get your business? Do you want to grow? Is it worth paying to get it there? And again, it's not just a
Yeah.
financial pay, it's a time, it's a commitment. You and I have had this discussion about multiple things. There's so many things involved in being a business owner and an entrepreneur, in being a good connector and all those other things. But at the same time, you're running a business, growing it, you have stress levels. And do you
Hmm.
want to do that? You have to take that on and be willing to go there as well. So it was a great
Right.
outcome.
Well,
Business grew. We got them their line of credit that they needed, and it did the right thing. But it was a lot of, fortunately, they were very engaged. They were very involved by putting together the models and things, instead of just knee jerk reaction. I want to hire someone so I can grow my business. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but dig in a
yeah.
little bit. There's more. There's a cost to hiring a new employee, no matter what. So,
Well, thank you for sharing that story because it's really important for business owners to know that there's options available to them.
mhm,
You don't have to land with just this hard loan. You can go with a line of credit that can
yeah,
actually give you peace of mind instead of stressing you out to the max. So I
exactly.
love that option for small businesses that are looking at their first loan to hire.
Mhm,
That's a scary process for a lot of business owners. So a line of credit can take some of that fear away. It can give them, oh, late perspective shift. Now this has become peace of mind for me.
yeah,
But I love how involved you get with people because it helps them to make really informed decisions, which means making sure that you're hiring the right people, make sure that you're putting the right people into this risk space because you are taking a risk. So I really appreciate that you're doing that instead of just throwing people in a loan and, oh, well, bye, see you later. Like, thank you for that. So I really, really, really appreciate how you show up as a business owner and just you are looking out for the best interest of everyone and you're going above and beyond what the typical loan space does. So thank you for doing that. As we wrap up, I would love for you to tell the audience where can they find you? What's your website?
Wonderful. Thank you. It is optivecommercialcapital.com, and they can reach me by phone, 303-885-9701. I can be emailed through the website. Love to talk to anybody just to look at their opportunity scenario, kind of a Q&A type thing, and just see what their strengths, challenges, and opportunities are, and see if we can help.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being our guest again. This was a great conversation, and I'm sure our audience is going to get a lot from it if they haven't already. So, Bill, I look forward to seeing you very soon. And thank you for your time.
I do as well, and thank you for your time. Always a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Misty.
Thank you. Until next time, everyone, we will see you soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the Wealthy Mind podcast. Please be sure to download the Wealthy Mind app today and make sure to support your local Dress for Success.